All this week here on Virginia This Morning, we're introducing you to boomers and shakers, people here in our community who are working to make it better with grand and small gestures. For a sixth year, CBS 6 has partnered with the magazine for this project. The Carol Adams Foundation is named after and was founded by our first honoree we're featuring today. Its focus is domestic violence awareness. After years of escalating violence, Carol Adams's mother was shot and killed by her father. Carol's now working to try to prevent others from having to go through this. We welcome Sergeant Carol Adams back to Virginia this morning. So good to see you. We see you every once in a while, which is a good thing because you're so active here in the community. I understand you recently just had an event for the Carol Adams Foundation. Tell us about that.
Yes, it's our annual gala, Cheryl, and it's in honor of my mother. Her birthday is November the 22nd, and so I always try to end the year on a positive note with all of our efforts to build education and awareness around domestic violence.
This is one of those things, unfortunately, that you were thrust into from personal experience. For people who are not familiar with your story, can you kind of give us a brief review?
Yes. Well, my dad, I lived in 12 years of escalating violence with my mom and my dad, which eventually, where my mother lost her life. And then at that point, my sister and I, we were just average teenage kids, and we woke up one morning and we were orphans. And so I became our legal guardian, and we actually lived in the same house for 6 months after that occurred and continued our lives. We graduated from school and continued, and then I became a police officer. And it was when I became a police officer and I was going out on these calls, then I knew I had to do more because I was meeting women and children in the same situation that I was in. And so I started over the years spending my own money, to help put them up if I reached out to resources that did not, had exhausted all of their means. And after doing it for 20 years and begging my friends to help me out, we created the Carol Adams Foundation.
And it's very, very active in the community. And you do not hesitate now to tell your story, but you, for a long time, didn't talk about this.
Yes, Cheryl. It took 17 years for me to talk about it. And I guess God was preparing me because I'm really a shy person. I'm an introvert, but this is my purpose, and I know I'm supposed to educate individuals, and specifically wearing my police uniform when I share, and people are not expecting me as a police officer as if I would be exempt, or that certain people are exempt from horrible life experiences. And so it's important for me to share with women, men, and children, and especially the children, because sometimes we give up on life when something bad happens to us. So that's why I make it a point to share my story everywhere I go and to let people know where I came from and what I'm doing and why I'm doing it.
One of the things I saw that was very strong on your part recently was you did a TEDx RVA talk, and the crowd's reaction was just amazing because you told the story in such a way that, again, people didn't know that it was you were talking about until you got to the end of the story, and you could physically hear the crowd kind of gasp and look at you and go, I can't believe this woman went through that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what we want people to understand, is that you can't look at someone and know what hardships they've experienced throughout life. And the goal of my TED Talk was to get people not to judge, and to also, when you see a headline, don't just assume you know the entire story just because you see the headline, because there's a lot that goes with that. And specifically with our incident, my mother was lost, and you would see husband killed wife, but what about the 2 children left behind? How are they gonna make it? How are their lives gonna turn out? And who's gonna step up to the plate to provide support for them? And who's gonna be there to help them with counseling? Is that even gonna be an issue? And the people that, like with us, I became our parent, but what about younger children who have to go live with other people? Are those people qualified to care for those babies? And are they getting them the adequate care that they need? Because, we all go through things, and being a teenager is tough enough, but can you imagine a child at in their teens, and you wake up one day and your mom and your dad's gone? Because realistically, we became orphans because dad went to jail. And I remember one of the toughest things that I experienced at that time was when I graduated, June the 6th, 1981, when I graduated and I walked out of the mosque, and everybody else's parents were there, and I did not have any parents. So how do you talk about that, and at that moment, and even now, that was a life-lasting, impacting moment in my life after the horrible incident that happened on December 1980.
Because this is something that affects your entire life and your entire being, and you have been able to find something positive in this in order to help other people, which is amazing. I know that you don't, because you're so shy, you don't like the praise heaped on you, but you do such a great job in the community, and you are an example of strength, because that's what it takes to get out of a situation where you are in an abusive situation, and that's what you teach women and men about.
Yeah, and for me, I know that's why God created me. And when most people look at my life, you would think that she had a horrible life. And yes, a horrible event happened in my life, but it's just like learning to walk. I fell down, but I had to get back up and I had to keep on going. And that's my message to people. It's like, no matter what happens to you, as long as you wake up every day and God gives you breath, He gives you life, that you have a purpose and you were created for His purpose. You're only existing for His purpose. So get up and get out there and do what it is that He'd have you to do. And nothing worth having is easy. And to be that example, and to be not just to tell people, but to be able to hold their hands. And that's the purpose of the Carol Adams Foundation. Is while working in government, I realized that, we have a lot of programs, but people need the support. So for me, when I meet someone, I have their hand and I'm with them, and if I have to walk them through the services that they need, and I'm going to always continue to be a support. So that's the goal of the foundation, is to be, not to just meet you today and to give you a couple of bucks and say, do better, but to be forever connected. So the families that we are connected to, we continue that relationship, and that's working with the moms, the parents, and the children. And one of my proudest things that I got going on is that I had a summer camp this year for survivor children. So we had 25 children of our survivors' families, and so they got to come to camp at the Carol Adams Foundation, and parents didn't have to pay a dime. And so, but we had counselors there. We did a lot of work, holistic work. We played, it was camp for fun, but we talked about their feelings and stuff like that, because that's one of the things as a child in domestic violence. You don't get a break because you're with mom or dad, and whatever's going on, the craziness is always with them. So you don't get to step away. So you're always in it.
You offer that opportunity to them. Thank you, Sergeant Carol Adams, for all you do in the community, and we wish you continued success, and congratulations on being a Boomers and Shakers honoree this year.
Thank you, Cheryl, and thank Boomer, and thank everyone.
All right. I'm sure we'll see you soon.
Yes.
You can read profiles of all this year's Boomers and Shakers honorees in the December-January issue of Boomer magazine. It's free and available on stands at dozens of locations throughout the metro area.